This is Smarter San Diego TV.
The presidential election is in full swing, and our next guest is here to discuss the first night of debates. Please welcome real estate expert and concerned citizen, Mike Litton.
There he is, Mr. Litton.
Hey, buddy.
Friend?
Good to see you.
How you doing?
Doing good.
Big election going on right now, obviously. The second presidential debates are tonight. Would like to talk with you about the first debates, just to get an idea of what your thoughts were on that. I have some thoughts on that.
Okay.
And then what we can expect tonight. So first and foremost, I think what's happened is, in the first debate, I don't think anyone's mind got changed. I think it was just kind of more of the same from both candidates. What was your opinion on that?
I think some minds got changed.
You do?
And I'll tell you specifically what I saw. And right after the debate, CNBC, who is really in the tank for Hillary Clinton, had an informal survey for their viewers for CNBC.com. And 67%, literally the next morning, 67% thought that Trump won. I think that there is a particular disdain this election season for slick, for cat that ate the canary look. If you watched what Clinton did, there was a smirk on her face the entire time.
Yeah.
Okay, like the cat that ate the canary, like she's got this thing sewn up, and this is it was almost condescending. Right.
At one point, Trump said, "You are acting like you're greater than thou." I thought
Yeah,
that was the
holier than thou. Yeah,
the perfect way to actually describe
Yeah.
the look on her face.
Well, and that's but that's what I'm getting at is there was a time, last two election cycles, maybe three, where you had somebody with charisma, you had somebody who could talk, but you've got people who are talking and they're not getting anything done. And I don't feel like the American public, the electorate, has an appetite for that now.
Yeah, that was the one thing that I would say she made a mistake on, because she was very well rehearsed in her answers. She picked her little spots to lie very carefully, and they were touching on really important issues. She was very well prepared.
Oh yeah.
To attack certain elements and to exaggerate certain things and to treat things as fact that were actually not true and didn't happen.
Right.
So she was, I think, a lot more prepared than Donald was. And I think the biggest mistake that Trump made, I would call this debate a draw, personally. I don't think I think it was just sort of neutral. Everyone who likes Hillary said Hillary won. Everyone who likes Trump said Trump won it. But I think where he made the mistake was that he assumes that the people know too much. So he was name dropping things. He was saying things, what about this person? What about that person? And he was just sort of mentioning it. But most people don't know what the implications were of, like, her, previous campaign managers and things like that. I don't think most people know those intimate details about the stories behind it.
Well, it's true. And you and I, the last time we talked about the fact that he needs to be specific. And he needs to be specific because he's talking to a wide audience that works for a living. He's talking to a wide audience that they don't necessarily watch everything that's political. They're not necessarily people who watch political goings on, every day, that kind of thing. And so they wouldn't know who that former campaign manager was, those types of things. You're absolutely right. He needs to be more specific, and he needs to be specific about the things that matter to the American electorate. That's my feeling about it. And I think he missed it in the debate.
I think he missed an opportunity too. I wonder what'll happen tonight, as round two is, the candidates obviously are going to watch this. They're going to study what happened. I think if you're, if you're in Trump's camp, you look at it, the best moment for him was when he turned the, hey, why don't you release your tax returns, into, what about your emails?
Yeah.
That was the best moment, I think, for Trump. Hillary had some really good moments, but I think her biggest mistake was the smirk.
Yeah.
Constant smile, just smiling like, oh, I'm so much better than this. I'm so much better than this whole process.
Yeah.
That was her big mistake. I don't think we'll see that again from her tonight.
Yeah. I think what you'll find is I think she'll learn from this, and I know he'll learn from this. One of the things that happens with Trump, and I don't know if many people followed this, I did, he got better with every single debate. So every single primary debate he was in, he got better because he studied himself, he watched the video, he improved. My feeling about it is he'll continue to improve, and what we'll see tonight is a more improved Trump. And I think what we'll see tonight, well, he made some mistakes in this debate, in this previous debate. And I think he knows it. I think he realizes it, because when he came off stage and he went into the spin room and he was doing these different interviews and that type of thing, one of the things that I noticed was he was not that happy. He was not that excited about how everything went. You could tell that it was something that he kind of felt like he left some things on the table. The email thing, I think, was particularly interesting because he brought up the 33,000 emails and then left it alone. That was a real opening for him, that he could have taken and really scored some points with that, and he didn't do it. And there were 2 points in this debate that I thought were interesting. One was the president. She prepared to be the president. She prepared to be president of the United States. I thought that was an interesting point that looked like it was incredibly rehearsed, and it fell on deaf ears. It was almost one of those things that she wanted to say to score points, but didn't really score any points with it. I think it could backfire on her. The other thing is, with him in particular, that the whole thing with the emails and the whole thing, there was a line that he was going to bring up about Bill Clinton's past infidelities, and he said, "I'm not going to do it because your family's here." And in the interviews afterwards, he mentioned that he looked at Chelsea in the audience and decided not to say it. Whatever it was, he decided not to say it. I believe that the American electorate is looking at that and thinking of that as being presidential.
Okay. Well, I think, and that's an interesting perspective, because I sort of think that I think Trump needs to be more Trump. I think he was trying to be too presidential. There was too many times where he was saying, "Oh, I actually agree with her about this," or "I actually, she has done some good work on this side of things." Whereas that's not why people like Trump.
Right.
People like him because he's Trump. He's not like that. So I think that's where his frustration was when you saw him come off the stage. He followed someone else's game plan, and he doesn't like the results. I expect tonight to see the old Trump back, and him saying, "Screw you all and your advice. I'm going to be me. I'm going to be what got me here, and I'm going to be loud, and I'm going to call her out for everything, and I'm going to keep needling all of the big points," because she has a lot against her. I mean, a lot. And he stayed away from it way too much.
I think that's a mistake, and I'll tell you why. If you look at what happened right after the convention and all the bombastic things and all the terrible things that he said that basically worked against him in terms of the polls and that type of thing, you look at what he's done in the last several weeks. He's done several things in terms of outreach. He's gone to churches, he's gone to inner cities, he's addressed a number of different things that most Republican candidates wouldn't even talk about during the election. I believe that would be a mistake if he came out and was the old Trump. I believe the controlled message Trump is what has gotten him to where he is now in terms of this thing being a toss-up. And I believe that if you were to graph this, and I believe that 538.com has done that, if you go out and graph the momentum that he has, he basically becomes president of the United States. 54.8% according to what they're saying now in terms of his chances of winning. My feeling about it is, if he continues to be presidential, continues to stay on message, the message is becoming more popular, and he's becoming more popular. Instead of being that guy that people look at and go, "Oh, there's no way, no how," all of a sudden things are starting to turn, and it's starting to go the other direction.
That could be true. It's hard to say what'll happen, because we know one thing for sure. Donald's going to do what Donald wants to do.
Oh, sure.
And if he is not happy with the outcome, and I'm sure he'll be looking at the polls very, very carefully, and they'll be doing their own research to see what the feedback was from the first debate. But I have a feeling tonight he's not going to take it so easy on her. I think that was simply the first round of him sort of treading lightly on, the one-on-one style debate circumstance. I think he's going to be a lot more aggressive tonight. Of course, we'll find out in just a few hours. But what do you think is the key tonight for Clinton if she is going to win back all the people who were not in love with the smirky face.
Well, she's going to have to get rid of the smirk. That's the first thing. And I think probably the other thing that she's going to have to do is she's going to have to get pretty good at playing defense, because I agree with you. I believe he's going to come after her, but I believe he's going to come after her in a controlled way. I believe he was frustrated this last time because he wasn't able to get all the things in that he wanted to get in. And I believe he's going to come after her with both barrels. But my feeling about it is, and I'm just telling you what I think, my feeling about it is I think he probably will be more controlled in the process and stay on message more than what you've seen in the past from the shooting from the hip type thing. I think you'll see more of because he seems to be more controlled and more on message and more disciplined than he's ever been as we go forward towards Election Day.
Okay. All right.
So
well, we'll find out tonight.
Absolutely.
Mr. Litton.
Should be interesting.
Again. Really appreciate it.
Check
out our poll on smartersandiego.com at the website given below. We'd love to hear what you think. Who won the first debate? And stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.
Our next guest is going to discuss how you can turn your body into a fat-burning machine. Please welcome the creator of bridebod.com, Alli Ferguson.
Welcome to the show, Alli. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Very hot topic today. Of course, everyone wants to figure out how to be more fit, especially how to look better, right, physically. And today you're going to tell us about the chemistry or some way to turn your body into what you call a fat furnace.
Yes.
Or what I call like a fat burning furnace, which is very appealing to a lot of people. But I think before we get to that, we should learn a little bit about you. You just turned 40 this year.
I did. Thanks for spilling that.
Welcome to 40. You look amazing.
Thank
That's what I'm
you.
trying to say. Like, I would have
Thanks.
never guessed that you were 40.
Most don't, but now everybody that watches it, they're already going to know.
Everyone's gonna know
Thanks.
now. But it's a compliment because I follow you on social media. That's how we got here today. I think
Yeah.
you're very inspirational, motivational, clearly doing something right. I mean, you look amazing.
Thanks.
So people want to know, like, well, what do I need to do? I mean, do I have to be in the gym for 3 hours a day, or like, what is the way to do it? So tell us sort of a little bit about yourself, your history, and how you got here.
So how I actually got into the fitness arena was being a chubby kid growing up, and I hated it and wanted to get past it. So I figured I had better learn this for myself. So my freshman year of college at UCI, I went and got certified as a personal trainer. So I've been doing this for over 20 years. And I started learning more and more about it. Now, I was a biology major, so when I got to the biochemistry class, it was literally my favorite class because I figured out this is how we can burn fat. That's what I want to know. I don't care about anything else in the class. I only want to know fatty acid oxidation cycle. And so I understood it at a level that none of the personal training programs were addressing. They had all this accepted wisdom, but I was learning it at a completely different level. And so I just started embracing it and moving forward, and I got better and better at it. And when I was at the club, I was the top trainer in the club because I got my clients the best results and it fit within their lifestyle. So a few years ago, I actually got to the point where I created BrideBod, which is my virtual personal training platform. So now I can train anybody anywhere in the country without having to be physically present with them. So it's got a lot of advantages to it, and I'm really excited about it.
So you said something about the chemistry, and I know that's a big thing with you. Are you kind of like more of a chemist here than a personal trainer? I mean, it's not some Breaking Bad stuff here.
No, definitely not Breaking Bad, and you won't find me in the kitchen messing around with different solutions, but you would find me in the kitchen messing around with different ways of cooking that could accelerate the progress. So, and I've created my own recipes and things like that, and I have a great time doing that. That's my creative outlet. But no, I'm not a chemist. Actually, chemistry was not my favorite class. Biochemistry was.
Biochemistry.
Yeah.
So I remember Food Science and Nutrition 101 at the University of Missouri, Columbia in the late 1990s. And I remember this very clearly because there was a test question about what is the the most efficient way to burn lipid material in the body, or to burn fat? And the answer was weightlifting. So
That's part of it.
I always remember that. Now, of course, that's not the only way to burn it, but that was the most efficient way.
It is half the equation, for sure. And that was the accepted wisdom too. Well, the other part of it was do a lot of cardio and you'll burn more calories. But the problem is you won't sustain that calorie burning long term unless you're lifting weights. And you have to lift heavy enough to really build lean mass, which is true. And when you do that, your body releases HGH. That's the fat burning hormone that you really want. And that also gets released while you sleep. So you have to get good sleep as well. But yes, weight training is a huge part of it. The problem with just saying, I'm going to go walk into the gym and I'm going to pick up some weights and I'm going to throw them around and see if I can burn some of this fat off is you can severely injure yourself if you do it incorrectly. And you can end up with chronic joint issues over time. So that's why I created the personal training platform, because people really need to know how to do that effectively. But it's critical to a really good fat furnace.
Okay, and I'm going to make you spill the beans on that very soon.
Okay.
I just have some questions first that I think might help lead up to that other people might be thinking too.
Okay.
Because I think anyone who's gone out and lost some weight at any point in time has figured out that it's a lot diet. Like, a lot has to do with what you eat. I mean, I know people who go do personal training sessions every morning of the week and they're not getting anywhere, from like a weight perspective or from how they look perspective. And so we know that the diet has got to be a big chunk of what's going to help someone transform their physical body, right?
Right. It's about half the equation. It's not 80-20 like everybody thinks it is.
That's what a lot of people think. It's 90%
I
diet.
don't know where that number came from. Somebody thought of it one day and somebody went, that's good. I'm going to blame it all on the food that I eat. But see, you can't train hard enough to undo what you put in your mouth. And you can't diet your way into being lean and fit. They go together. And they go together so well that if you do them both correctly, it's easy. It's easy to get lean because you just change your genes around.
Change your genes.
Yeah.
Not your...
It's called epigenetics.
Epigenetics.
Yeah.
Now we're getting somewhere. Is Deepak Chopra in the lobby? Is he ready to come in and talk about this? So... All right, let's start going there then, because you're saying that you have come up with a way to turn your body into a fat furnace.
I didn't come up with it, the body did it.
You figured out how to tap into the body's potential.
Yes, yes.
Let's talk about it.
I'm piggybacking on some great research. So the last 20 years, I've been living my life a certain way, eating a certain way, and I knew what that was doing biochemically to me, but there wasn't a lot of research that really supported that until I came across this company that has a lot of research, and I can bring it up in a minute. But epigenetics is the study of, and we don't have all the answers in epigenetics right now, by the way, but it's the study of how the food that we eat actually changes our gene expression. So while everybody thinks, well, that person's just got fat burning genes and I've got fat storage genes, you actually have both. It just depends on what you're putting in your body and how it's, because your metabolism is in your gut, how you're treating it to get it to express the fat burning ones and turn off the fat storage genes.
And does that have to do with what you're eating or how you're eating it?
Yes, both, and when you're eating it. So I know that sounds far more complicated, but
no, we want to know.
We want to know, okay. So a lot of it has to do with your gut flora. The good bacteria and bad bacteria, right? Most of us have too much bad bacteria. Antibiotics, all the things that happen, just like normal everyday life. More of the good bacteria gets killed off and more of the bad bacteria sticks around. That's why people get sweet tooths. It's actually the bad bacteria sending a signal up to your brain that says, feed me, Seymour, I want sugar. And then we go, I have a food craving for sugar. So it's actually not something that your body needs. You don't actually need sugar. In fact, your body doesn't really want you to have it. That's why we end up with chronic diseases like diabetes. So what happens is if we can turn that gut flora back around where the good bacteria is leading the charge, what it actually does is it feeds off of the fiber that you're eating and it turns it into short-chain fatty acids. You cannot consume short-chain fatty acids. This bacteria has to create them. So there's 3 of them: butyrate, propionate, and acetate. I told you I could get way too technical, didn't I?
No.
And those 3 short-chain fatty acids actually go back and signal the fat burning gene to turn on and turn off the fat storage gene. Now, that only gets released inside the intestine, and you have to have the right probiotics to be able to do it. I've only come across one company that has the right probiotic to do it, though, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah, only one company.
One company has the right probiotic.
Yeah, it's this company, Silver Fern.
Okay.
Yeah, that's their probiotic right there. And they even produced this magazine, which is great. But Silver Fern has all this research. They have a microbiologist that loves bacteria, apparently, that came to them and said, you've got a great sweetener, but you're missing part of the story. And if we added this probiotic in, this could do amazing things for people. Well, it's doing a lot of really healthful things and not just making their bodies lean, but actually it has the possibility to really eliminate autoimmune disorders and irritable bowel disorders, all those kinds of issues that some people really, really suffer from.
Wow.
I'm more excited about the health benefits than just the lean body benefits that people will get from it.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, so this is it a pill? Is it a powder or?
It's just a little capsule. And the amazing thing is, and this is what I was sharing with them, because I have a master's in counseling psychology also. And there's a lot of people. I used to have clients in the club that, I remember one in particular, she had IBS. And so we'd do a couple of sets and then she'd run to the bathroom. And we'd do a couple more sets and she'd run to the bathroom. Can you imagine what your life is like when you're constantly running to the bathroom? She didn't have a boyfriend. She couldn't hold down a serious relationship. So if she could change that and not be on any drugs, completely naturally alter that reality for herself, can you imagine how freeing that would be for all of those people that are suffering from those kinds of conditions? They're psychologically limiting. It could really change people's lives.
And so is that just a consequence? Because in other words, there are other ailments that can come from this having the wrong chemistry in your gut.
Yeah, autoimmune disorders are a big part of it too. So is diabetes. Heart disease comes from sugar, not from consuming cholesterol or fat. So not eating sugar, then that's where their sweetener comes in really handy, because it's a healthy sugar that's got fiber in it, and that fiber that's in their sweetener, the probiotic actually eats it. And that's what creates the short chain fatty acids. So that alters the gene expression, and then when you go in and you train hard in the gym, now you're getting HGH release, and if you add in a little intermittent fasting, where instead of jumping out of bed and going straight for breakfast because it's supposed to be the most important meal of the day, it's not.
It's not?
It's not, especially if you intermittently fast, because that will cause more HGH production, which will cause more fat burning.
What do you mean by intermittently fast?
That phrase has taken on a whole lot of meanings with a lot of different people, especially fitness people. So it really just means that you need 12 to 18 hours of not eating food. So starting from dinner to, usually throughout the night. That's a better time to do it.
Yeah.
And then train in the morning, right? Hit the weights while you're in the fasting stage, which will cause more HGH production. And at the end of the day, it really boils down to HGH triggering a lot of that fat burning as well.
So you need to lift weights in the morning before you eat.
Yeah.
Wow, I bet very few people are doing that.
Probably. Probably.
What about, now when you say fast, does that mean not drinking anything either, or just water?
No, water. I drink coffee before I go to the gym, and that's fine because that also triggers more fat burning too.
Okay.
So
you can have a cup of coffee.
I have a lot of coffee, at least in the morning. Yeah, because I want to have the most intense workout that I possibly can.
So you said 12 to 18 hours. Is more better on that fast?
It is, actually. The longer you fast for, and this is probably 5 days a week, the longer you fast for, the more HGH is produced. Now, I didn't realize that that's what I was actually doing back in my 20s. I was just too dang busy to eat, working 4 jobs, going to school full time. So it just happened that way, but there's the science to back it up now.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
I know.
How about that? That's fascinating stuff, by the way. Really, really cool. And congratulations to you on everything, the virtual personal training. What's it called again?
Bridebod.com is the
Bridebod.
first site that's launched. And then Bod by Alli is the overall brand. And we'll have other sites for men and things, other people as well.
Too, yeah.
Well, I have had a lot of men ask me if they could train with me, and I thought, Okay, maybe I'll make a site for you guys.
Of
too.
course.
They can go on Bridebot and trend as long as they don't mind looking at pictures of women.
Of course, we don't mind that.
And
works.
although I haven't met a single man that doesn't like women,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, everyone likes women. It's that simple.
Pretty much.
So, anything else that you think would be good for people to know in conjunction with this message? And of course, we'll have links up on the screen about what it is that we're discussing here and where people can find it and whatnot. So you don't have to worry about that. But as far as like other macro ideas, or like you said, breakfast is not the most important meal of the day. That was a big one. That it makes sense. I understand why that's happening, and I've never been a huge fan of breakfast. So I think it'll be easy for me to do your fasting and attempt that. Anything else we should know?
Yeah, high protein, low carbohydrates, no sugar. Fruits and vegetables are fine, but most people don't also get enough protein. And so you need enough so that your body can actually utilize that instead of your own muscle tissue when it's trying to make those pesky little things like cells and hair and nails and rebuild the muscle tissue that you're going to go tear down in the gym when you hit it really hard.
Okay.
So most people don't get enough protein. I would say 1 gram per pound of body weight is a minimum.
Per day?
Per day.
1 gram per pound.
Yeah.
So if
So
I'm
that's
210 pounds, you say I need 210 grams of protein.
right.
If
So
I'm lifting heavy.
I would say that you would need that. If you're lifting really heavy, you might even need more.
Okay.
So this is going to be like a pound of meat a day, generally speaking, pound
Dang.
of actual protein, more protein powders and things like that. I know, right? And I'm a big protein lover, so I don't have a problem with it. But
Well, it's working for you. Alli, thank you so much
thanks.
for your time today. Really
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much
Thanks
for having
coming in.
me.
Well, now you know how to turn your body into a fat-burning furnace. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Commercial free.
Our next guests are going to discuss why video services are so important in real estate. Please welcome back our Carlsbad correspondent, Bryan Devore, and his special guest, the President of Innovative Concepts, Aaron Lawler.
All right, welcome to the show, fellas.
Thank you very much.
All right, welcome back, Brian.
Thank you.
Aaron,
Glad
welcome
to be here.
First time.
Thank you so much, Derek.
Great to have you. Looking fresh.
Oh,
like it.
so are you?
It's a wonderful beard, by the way, my friend. Beautiful beard. To each beard its own. Right?
Exactly right.
All right, so Brian, you wanted to bring Aaron on today for a specific
Yes.
reason.
Uh-huh.
Tell us why.
Yeah, so I look at my job as a real estate agent as to always and only do what's best for my clients, whether it's a home buyer or a home seller. And specifically when we're talking about home sellers, I really feel my job, in most cases, is to get them the highest price possible in the least amount of time. So to do that, I have to cast the biggest net I possibly can. So I have to take out all the guns when it comes to marketing. So I'm always looking for the latest and greatest marketing technique to expose the home to the greatest number of people, especially online. And the latest and greatest seems to be drone videography and drone photography. And a friend of mine, his name is Tony, and he's in my office. He had a friend, or has a friend, I think, still.
We're still friends.
You're still friends, who does just that. And the work that he does is amazing. I'll let him talk about it, and I can talk more about why I like to use him the most.
Okay, cool. Tell us what you do, Aaron.
Yeah, so president of Innovative Concepts. Started doing documentary work down in Central America, Latin America, heart, real passion stuff. Found myself in Costa Rica and across the bar, of course, from a broker of a Coldwell Banker franchise down there. He was frustrated. He's like, man, my listings just aren't selling. And I'm like, what are you doing to market them? And he's got iPhone photos. And I'm like, you're trying to market to people, in the States and Canada. Let's do some real stuff. And we doubled his business in about a year and a half. And I'm like, okay, real estate, this is great. It's a lot of fun, especially doing the video stuff. Each home is different. Each home tells a story, especially in the community that it's in. So when we go in, we don't, drone. A lot of people are starting to do drones these days, but you see a lot of rooftops, a lot of shingles. So getting in, really getting the compelling shots, and then telling the story, cutting it to. I'm a musician myself. I love cutting stuff to great music. Doing the voiceover is something I also love to do.
Aaron does the voiceover and talks about the home. But like Aaron said, it's not just the home, it's not just the rooftops. He does the community. One of the things I look at is, especially in this global marketplace, I don't know if a buyer for my listing is going to be in Carlsbad, if the home's in Carlsbad, or they could be in Canada, they could be anywhere.
Dubai.
They could be in Dubai. And so
Ideally, they're in Dubai.
yeah, it could be. And so I need to paint a picture not just of the home, but of the area, so they can differentiate between, you know, Rancho Cucamonga and Carlsbad versus Aviara or something else. So he does a better job than I've seen of all the different drone videos of painting a real good picture, and it's the right length. It's not too long, it's not too short, and it's not just a camera going up in the air and back down. I mean, it really gets a real 3D visual of the entire home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Surrounding homes.
Yeah, and it's so true. With the tools we have nowadays, with Zillow, MLS obviously, but doing ads on Google and Facebook, I mean, you can micro-target. If you good agents like Bryan tend to usually have even an idea of the type of person that's going to buy the home, so you can target those specific demographics and spend, I mean, very minimal funds comparing to the amount of people that are going to see it, because great content's only as good as, you know, the right people seeing it.
We actually did a video one time, and Aaron helped me. The first time I did it was to post it on the one on Tucana,
Yep.
and highly targeted, and I was amazed at the number of hits that video got. And not just how many hits it got, but we could see how long they watched it for, and people were watching the whole thing.
Wow.
Not just the first 3 or 5 seconds, they stayed throughout the entire video.
It's got to be captivating content. That's
Right.
the name of the game. And then we also, so we do the video stuff, but we're really loving real estate technology, where it's coming. I mean, Palo Alto, Mountain View is a hub now of you know, taking technologies that are out there in the world and really finding a source for them in real estate. So we do a 3D thing called Matterport, which has been around for a little bit, but the way it's taking off and the applications, the features that they're adding to it now is incredible. You can go through literally from anywhere in the world and walk through a property just like you're there, through the bathroom to the master, and then pull out to a 3D view. It looks like a dollhouse, and see the whole home. Like, you can't even see it like that when you're there. So, you know, the technology, the stuff that's going on right now, staying on the cutting edge of it, it's my passion. It's what I love to do.
That's cool, and we know you're good at doing that. We've been watching that on the screen, you know, this whole time. So obviously you have talent there. And Bryan, what you're saying though is that this is a tool that helps sell homes.
Absolutely.
So for home sellers, they should be using an agent who's using these tools.
Absolutely. If you don't, I mean, I still see listings that use the iPhone pictures. It's unbelievable. But my job is to get their home in front of as many people as I possibly can. And if you don't do these things, then you're limiting the audience that's out there. One of the interesting things is how it affects open houses. In the old days with open houses, you know, the person who comes in, they could be looking for a home like yours that you're listing, or they could be looking for something totally different. But most of the people that come to the open houses that I have, they've already seen the home because of the video, and they have an idea, and now they're just confirming. They want to see in person and just confirm it. And sure enough, a couple months ago, I had someone who had seen one of my listings online. They came right at 1 o'clock when the open house started, said, yep, this is what we thought it was. They made an offer and they got the house. So it's affecting not just the presence as far as online, but for all aspects of selling the home.
Yeah, because people want to be able to know what they're going to see.
Right.
In the old days of real estate, your realtor would bring you, some printouts and say, hey, these are the houses. Here's the one picture we have to look at.
Yeah.
Do you want to go see it?
If you were lucky.
Yeah. Well, here's the one picture.
Yeah.
Here's the stats. Go see it, and you'd have to go drive around. No one's interested in that anymore. No one has time for that, especially here in San Diego.
Right.
People just don't have time for that. There's too much traffic. I mean, can you imagine taking someone on a tour to look at 10 houses on a given day?
Right.
How long that would take? So to be able to see it on demand, I think, is the real key. You can watch it at midnight.
Absolutely. Yeah, in your
Walk through the
pajamas at
house.
home. And again, to get a real picture, not just of the home, but the community as well. Selling the community so people get excited about the community also. So, a lot of times buyers who are looking at homes, they may already have an agent, but maybe the agent doesn't know the community. Well, now I'm helping that agent help their client. So anything I can do to help them and help my clients in the long run, that's what we're all looking for.
Well, speaking of, you have some fresh ones in Carlsbad, don't you?
Yeah, I have a special a great listing coming up. It's actually on the market now. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, plus an upstairs loft and a downstairs den in the wonderful community of
Rancho
Carrillo. Exactly. It's where I do a lot of my business. It is it's 1821 square feet. Brand new kitchen with appliances, countertops, the whole 9 yards. It's a fantastic home. So it's available right now. If your viewers want to get more information, they can visit my website at DevoreRealtyGroup.com. Also, a couple other little tidbits of information. Just was in the newspaper today that the county tax assessor just sent out over 1 million tax bills for property taxes, totaling almost $6 billion in property taxes.
Holy smokes.
Which is a record. So the government has a lot of money coming in if people pay their property taxes. So hopefully they do.
If they pay.
If they pay. So hopefully they do.
So the listing or enter career was a 3-bed, but has 2 extra rooms.
It does. It's got a downstairs den, plus it has a loft as well. So it's very flexible space.
Cool.
Space for everybody and everything.
Listing price on that one?
It's listed for $695.
Okay, wow, not bad at all.
Yeah.
Really good. Okay, great stuff, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming today. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having
Thanks for having us.
Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.
Our next guests are going to discuss the pros and cons of buying and selling your home off the market. Please welcome back our Scripps Ranch correspondent, Scott Ryan, and his special guest, the partner and business owner of Synergy One Lending, Scott Boaman.
The Scotts are back. What's up?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Scott Squared. Good stuff. Great to have you both back.
Thank you.
Here in our lounge set.
Yeah.
So, Bowman, I want to start with you.
Yes.
Because I noticed, the real estate market's done really well the last 5 years. Let's be honest. We had a tough time, got through that, it's been ever since. What tends to happen when the market does really well is you see a lot of people who, got out of the business in the downturn, and they come back in the business. In the mortgage business, this is very dangerous because getting a mortgage is a complicated thing. It's very time sensitive. It is driving the transaction, so crucial. In your world, have you noticed lately that there's been more messes to clean up, potentially from, whether it be loan officers who are just subpar, or maybe it's just, or maybe it's even the big banks who are hiring people for, $12 an hour to come run mortgage loans for people. Have you noticed stuff like that picking up?
All of the above is what I would say on that. It is, really. Like you mentioned, the mortgage industry is a complex thing. It's not, I get kind of amused where people just go to the internet and they think they're going to pick a rate and pick a lender and it's going to be done. And there's so much more to it that there's probably 15 to 20 people that are involved with that process. And if the leader of that process is not effectively managing it, somewhere along the line it's gonna fall through. And whether it's incompetency, we'll say, or lack of knowledge, let's put it that way, maybe not incompetency, lack of knowledge with the loan officer, or with the large numbers of people that the larger institution of the banks have in place, it cannot effectively move through that process. So I 100% agree with you, all of them.
You're doing lots of cleanup?
A lot. I had a couple people call me in the last few days. Hey, I applied so-and-so, one of the larger entities, and I just found out now I can't get the financing and I got to close in 14 or 17 days. Are you able to help? And quickly put it together and do what we need to do and effectively get it done. So yeah, there is cleanup going on. So I think it's important that people identify up front that they're working with somebody that answers their phone, responds to the emails, takes charge, gets things done, and still gives them a competitive program and product along the way.
What's the best way for someone to sort of make that decision? If you're talking to someone you don't know, it seems like they know what they're doing. I mean, how would you figure that out if you were an
That's a good
average
question. I think there's a few things that you can ask. I would try and call that loan officer 3 times and see if they answer the phone at least 2 of the 3. If you get voicemail 3 of your calls or 2 of your calls, that's not a good sign. Send them an email, see how quickly they respond to the email. Because the people that are on their game are going to be responding and on it. If it takes them a day to get back to you, to me that's a poor service sign. If they're not getting back to you in 2 or 3 hours, that's a red flag.
Can we try that with real estate agents too?
I would like to put that in play too. Yeah.
I always answer my phone. Nothing bothers me more. I tell you.
Yeah.
Text messages totally change that dynamic.
And then thirdly is, where is the operations site located? Is it where the loan officer is at, or is it in Arizona or East Coast or somewhere? Does the loan officer, who you're going to be your primary point of contact, have the ability to go in and talk to the underwriter, sit down, get things done, and then search them on the internet and look at some of the reviews and see what referrals have to say
Proximity
about
to the underwriter is huge.
Yeah.
Because that's at the end of the day, if you need to pull strings, that's how you're going to do it.
You got to be able to do it. You're not going to try and send an email to somebody in Arizona or Utah or something and get something done.
Yeah. Okay. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Straight from Captain Mortgage right here.
Yeah.
So, Scott, Ryan, off-market properties. This has become a really big deal. I mean, it's almost become the way in San Diego with the low inventory situation that we have. But I'm curious, if I'm a home seller, you know, should I consider, or what would be the way for me to maybe have my cake and eat it too, as far as having my home that I'm going to sell be off-market for a while and see if I can sell it that way? Would it benefit me?
You know, I think it would. Every situation is different, obviously, but off-market properties have been a hot topic in Scripps Ranch. I mean, they've been selling left and right. I'm representing a buyer who is closing on Friday on a property that was off-market, and I've done several listings myself that way. And I think the one thing you got to remember is, as a seller, there's a lot of work that goes into selling a home, especially in Scripps Ranch, an area with a lot of families. You've got kids, you've got dogs, you've got cats, you've got all this thing. You need to stage your house and get it ready. And in order to do that, that takes a lot of time, work, and effort. A lot of my sellers might come to me and say, you know what, Scott, I'm relocating out of the area. I need to be out of my house in 30 days or in the next couple of months. And here's the price I'm looking to sell my house for. So would it be a great idea for me if you found a buyer off market, or if you knew another agent that had a buyer? I think it'd be great if you brought them by. I think also it helps a seller, if they're going to buy another property, need that to find that replacement property. If they have a buyer secure, knowing that, you know, they're getting the price they want, they have time to go find a replacement property. And oh, by the way, we're 2 months away from the holidays. So if you're getting near in the holidays and you don't want to be that, and we talked about this the other day in the real estate debate, right? You don't want to be having a heart attack at Christmas with your equity, knowing, hey, what's going on? Like, why aren't buyers looking at my Christmas tree and they're staring at all the presents under the tree but not looking at my house, right? You don't want to be one of those sellers. But, you know, if you can find that right buyer who was going to pay your price, it's a great idea to go ahead and sell it off market. The other side of the coin, some sellers are going to say, well, I want to expose my house to the open market and I want to get, no, in the back of my mind, I did everything I could to get top dollar for my property. So everyone's going to have a different discussion based on the amount of equity and cash they need to get out of the property and what their overall feelings are on value.
Yeah, well, those things will always matter, right, when you're selling your home. And I think the real question is there a way to have your cake and eat it too? You know, could I, for example, right now, we're talking, you know, it's mid-October.
Sure.
I want to sell my home, but I don't want to deal with it during the holidays. A lot of home sellers will say, you know, after the holidays we'll look at it. That's why we usually see inventory pick up in January.
Sure.
So, but if I say, hey, Scott, can you sell my house in January? Could you, between now and January, have that as a coming soon type deal?
Yeah.
Because other agents are asking
absolutely.
you, hey, Scott, do you have anything coming up in Scripps Ranch? Do you have anything coming up in Scripps Ranch? You could say, I got one coming up in January.
Yeah.
Here's what the specs are. That might help build demand, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. And the one thing you got to remember too is that it's important as a seller for you to go ahead and empower the agent to make sure that you sign, if you're not going to have it on the MLS, at least sign a full listing agreement with that agent, and you can sign an exclusion to hold it off of the MLS. But that'll empower that agent to use their agent-to-agent network and connections they have. I have so many great relationships with other agents in Scripps Ranch. So I can go to them, hey, I've got this great listing, I have a signed agreement, these are the specs, this is what the seller's looking for as far as price. Do you have anybody that's looking? Yeah, I got a buyer, but you know what, they're relocating, they're probably not gonna be ready for another month. But in the meantime, I'm out there networking with these agents trying to find a buyer for the seller. You know, not necessarily me wanting to double on the property, because that's not my main priority. My main priority is to help the seller get the property sold. But the agent-to-agent relationships, by empowering the agent with a full listing agreement to go sell that property off market for you, and maybe get lucky and find somebody during the holidays, is a great way to do it.
So not one of those deals where, hey, Scott, yeah, bring me a buyer, and then I'll sign, and then I'll list the property.
Usually what happens is you start calling the other agent and say, yeah, I met the seller, you know, and the agent already knows the address, because that seller has probably already called 3 or 4 of the other top agents in Scripps Ranch, letting them know that their house is for sale. And then it becomes, everyone's trying to fight. Yeah.
That's the same one that was internet shopping for the rate.
Yeah, so, you know, if you want to sell it off market, you need to do it the right way. Empower the agent, at least have the home in somewhat presentable condition, right? I mean, you don't want it to look like a bomb went off. So at least have the house in presentable condition. Maybe the agent wants to do some marketing. You know, you don't have to put it all over the internet, but social media is a great way to post off-market listings. And it's important, again, to have that exclusionary agreement signed as well from the MLS, because the DRE can come after you if you don't have that signed.
So they have to say, hey, I don't want my property
Correct.
put on the MLS.
Correct.
So they would sign the agreement with you, say, okay, Scott, we're going to sign this. We're going to say, hey, we want to list it on the MLS in January.
Sure.
But in the meantime, here you go. We're committed. This is
Yeah.
what's going to happen. Now you are empowered to go and say, all right, this is now my listing. It's going to be my listing. I can go market it
Yeah.
to other agents or maybe on social media as well. Create some buzz. Get people going, oh, there's one coming up. This is now a secret property.
Yeah.
Right? Because not everyone knows about it.
It's great too because it makes I think in some ways it makes the seller feel like they have a unique product, and the buyer, every buyer wants what other buyers want. So if they hear about a property that maybe is their dream home, it's the perfect fit, wouldn't it be great to eliminate the competition? Aren't they going to feel great about paying a seller his price, knowing that I don't have to deal with any other buyers in a multiple offer type of situation? And it also empowers them to make sure that they hire somebody like Scott to get the mortgage done so that they're not going to screw up that dream home process. So it all kind of goes together, I think.
I think the overriding topic, really what this all falls under, is really service. Specialized service that he can provide for that off-market seller. And then the service in my opinion, I drive home service when I'm trying to talk to borrowers looking for financing, because that's huge in the lending industry.
Yeah.
Rates are important. I'm not saying to just disregard them, but service in both of our industries, to me, makes life easier. Because you could close escrow 90 days down the road, lose all your hair, be so frustrated and so upset and so stressed out because of the entire process, or you could have a nice, clean system that's put together and still close escrow.
Or you could not close escrow.
Or
90
you could not
days
close
from
escrow,
now
right?
Because someone else got the property because you're a buyer who couldn't perform.
Exactly.
And that's the worst.
That's
case
right, because
scenario.
there's tight contract timeframes that are involved when you put the offer together that if you don't adhere to them, the seller could easily kind of go, oh, I've got some other people in the backup, so I'm going to cancel this one and move on, right?
Yeah, we were going to sell it off market, but Scott, since this buyer fell through, let's go ahead and throw it on the MLS. I can easily see that happening. So definitely a good idea to have your ducks in a row. Guys, thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks for having us.
Captain Mortgage, Mr. Scripps Ranch. And stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Commercial free.
Our next guest is already ahead of the game and here to discuss the hottest property types in 2017. Please welcome back real estate expert, Elizabeth Story.
There she is, the champ. Welcome back. With
Thank
my favorite color dress on, my goodness. Perfect.
We didn't even call each other ahead of time.
Yeah, perfection. Love it. So I was curious about something, and I think it would be interesting to know your opinion on what you think the hottest property type will be in 2017, seeing as what's happened over the course of the last 5 years. The real estate market has gone up quite a bit. Things have been going really well. What's going to be hot next year?
Oh man, I love this topic actually, and I really have a really good handle on it too. The hottest top property type for 2017 will definitely be properties that suit multiple families. And I'll tell you why. There's a rising trend in adult children moving back in with their parents, or there's a rising trend in parents moving back in with their adult children. Either way, the family is becoming more multiple housing needs. So any kind of property that can suit that is going to be hot. And that could be a lot of different type of properties too. So one thing that we've always seen that has flown off the shelves but will continue to do so is anything with a detached casita. People love properties with a detached casita. They can be used for multiple families. They can also be used for people who work at home, or properties with a finished basement, and especially properties with dual masters and no steps to get to them.
So when you say like multi-family, you don't necessarily mean multiple units.
Right.
It could just be a property that suits two different living areas, sort of like two kitchens maybe.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah. And I mean, the more separated they are, the better. And so, again, the detached casita tends to be one of the very most popular, especially if the casita was built with its own garage and its own kitchen, because it allows the families to be together on the same property, but have their own space, because, you know, we are still Americans and we still like to have our own space too, even if we are living together. Or even properties that have a good separation where a master's on one side and a master's on the other, or a master upstairs and a master downstairs. It's an actual category in the MLS of whether or not there are steps to get in the entry, and then whether or not there are steps to get into the master.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. That's something you can search by.
Yeah. And so, and kind of to add on to that, another property type that will also be very property, I think the popular is aging in place properties. Properties where people don't have to move because they don't have to go up steps. So you're seeing people convert bedrooms downstairs or look only for, you know, level single-story houses, or again, properties that don't have steps to get to whatever master is downstairs.
So I wonder if that's going to be true. You know, first of all, we'll talk about how we could potentially take advantage of that.
Exactly.
Now, like for example, if you're renovating your home,
Bingo.
or something along those lines, can you use this information potentially to make a smarter investment into your own home?
100%. And so that's another big topic on people's minds. People know that the price of real estate has risen, so sometimes that makes it a really good time to sell, but what if you still need a place to live and you still want to own it? Well, you're selling high and you're buying high. So there are people who are considering renovating as well. If you're going to renovate, definitely keep in mind adding on. Adding on is one of the few things that you just pretty much always get 100% return on your investment, as long as you do it properly and have good people in place. So if you're going to add on, again, consider a detached casita. Consider something with a separate entrance, and again, don't put any steps to it if you can avoid it.
Okay, so avoid putting steps to the entryway, and if you can do something, especially that has like a separate kitchen.
Yes.
That's where you can really start to live.
Yes.
Separate of someone else. So if it's detached, that's ideal. But if not, if someone has, because I think what we're seeing is a lot of people have, too much space. That's one reason why people are selling. But they have, they've lived there for 30 years.
Yes.
They don't need this much space anymore. But they need to update a lot of things.
Right.
They want to sell it as is to an investor for bottom dollar. They want to get top dollar.
Right.
So now I should be looking at, okay, well, how can I change this space into something that could be used for multi-units? Maybe for family, or maybe as well for like Airbnb.
Right.
Which, as we see more and more of these condos and attached housing associations are saying no more Airbnb stuff on the nightly side.
Yeah.
The single family detached residents that have the ability to pick up that demand could also become in higher demand.
That is huge. And I have something, in fact, we just closed escrow last week on a property where the client wasn't sure and it was a little bit more than they wanted to spend, and I very quickly pointed out, look, you have a master downstairs. You can just close it off, add a door. You can lock it or unlock it based on whatever you want to do, and you can Airbnb that thing. And when we did the math, it was actually cheaper than any other property we'd looked at when we started figuring out even just a 20% occupancy on Airbnb can put you just so far over what you need that you'll just be smiling all day.
Yeah, it's really amazing because you can get so much money.
Exactly.
It's very convenient for everyone.
Yeah. So, and again, and two more to that regard, maybe you don't need multifamily housing, but if you can separate it in a way that you can put your mortgage to work for you, so that you're not just paying a mortgage, your mortgage is helping pay you.
Yeah. I think that's something that is going to be, I don't know if it'll be a trend in San Diego because we're so built here, but I have a feeling in some other areas that are destination cities on the up and coming, where there's more construction opportunities, you'll see homes built that way from the very beginning, built with that in mind, that hey, here's your house, here's your $1 million house, but here's the 25% of it that you can Airbnb and pay most of the mortgage with it.
Exactly.
I really think that's going to happen.
And it's a wise decision and it's a wise investment. Again, I had another client who she had been renting hers out long term for a long time. Her tenant left and now her dad lives there and takes care of the kids. So just make your property work for you or for other people, or put money in your pocket, whatever it is. It's definitely a very hot trend for 2017.
How many properties are there out there like that right now? It seems like they're pretty rare.
Few. Oh my gosh, there's so few. The supply and the demand are just so imbalanced. So anybody who maybe even has like a big lot and wasn't thinking about adding on, do it. 2 high thumbs up for you. Whether you're going to use it for 5 years and then sell it or sell it right away, I definitely think that that's a good idea, because there's less than 10% of the properties on the market. I didn't pull the data, but I'm just guessing it's less than 10%. But the stat is now that almost 33% of families are now looking for that. So you just have this huge differential in what's available.
I bet you it's less than 5%.
I bet you it is.
That have actual multiple family living opportunities. Although we did, our most recent episode for Win This Listing, we did shoot a property that had that.
Oh.
So there was no separation. It was just you went downstairs, but then downstairs there was a full kitchen
Yeah.
and a living room that used to be a garage, sort of like a split level setup. So someone had done that to that home, and I thought, man, that's really smart because you have a separate doorway to get in here. You could Airbnb this thing.
Yes.
You just need a door at the stairs, and you got it.
Exactly.
And that's a big deal these days. Even if you're in, La Mesa or Metro or wherever, you don't have to be on the beach to do Airbnb. I think people don't realize that.
That's true. And another big candidate for Airbnb is like exchange students or people who are visiting from other countries. They don't care if you're 5 minutes from the beach. They're in America, they're in California, they're on the West Coast. I've seen it all the way from Vista down to Imperial Beach. So it doesn't really matter where you are. There's a demand for it.
And with the colleges too.
Yeah.
Because you do get students who want to come in and do that as well, or their families that are coming in and they want to be close to the college. So there's a lot of areas where you can Airbnb successfully, or VRBO. VRBO just kind of disappeared off the map, didn't it? It's all Airbnb now, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It does the same thing, and there's multiple ways to market your property when you have that circumstance.
Yeah.
So I think it's something that people should really take a look at. If you have that opportunity right now, for example, like if you have a bedroom or a living space that you could convert in that circumstance, you should really take a look at it.
Yep. And give me a call because I have good people.
You do have good people.
Yeah.
You have a great gardener too.
I do.
I know that for sure.
I've got a good everything. I've got a guy.
She's got a guy. All right, hottest property 2017. You heard it right here. Multiple family opportunity properties. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Commercial free. Hey, great show, guys. That's a wrap. Jade, what's your schedule look like? Do you mind breaking down the set?
Not today, Derek. I'd love to, but there's waves out there. I gotta go.
No, I can't either. I'm starting to get hangry and I have way too much stuff to do today. Claudia, you've got this, right?
Sure, guys, I would love to. I'll get right to work.